We've been reading through the story of Jacob. He's a man of the promised land, of God's property, of God's holy place. He's living in God's holy place, and he leaves. He lives outside the land. But while he's outside the land, he's in Padan Aram. He becomes wealthy. He has a family. And then what he does is he brings them back into the promised land. He settles them back on God's property. He returns to the holy place. He returns to God's kingdom. In Genesis 36, we see Esau doing the exact opposite. Esau is living in the promised land. He's on God's property. He's on God's holy place. He's amassing wealth. He's building a family. He gains all of these things, and he leaves. He leaves the promised land. He settles outside the kingdom, and he builds his own kingdom. He builds Edom. Jacob takes the wealth outside the kingdom, and he brings them into the kingdom. Esau takes the wealth inside the kingdom, and he brings it outside the kingdom. Jacob is a priest, an evangelist, we might even say, bringing those outside of the kingdom into it, while Esau is acting like a false priest. He's acting as an apostate. He's bringing the goods that are inside the kingdom, and he's bringing them outside. He's bringing them to other gods. Jacob says to his family, "Put away the idols from among you." Esau says to his family, "Keep your idols." Jacob's leading in the right direction. He's leading towards God. Esau is leading in the wrong direction, away from God. What Esau did is what we've done as Americans. We became wealthy as children of God. And we've taken these good gifts that God's given us, and we've moved ourselves outside the kingdom. Not geographically, but spiritually. We've moved ourselves into Edom, out of the promised land. America is, like Esau, a nation. We're a son with a glorious patrimony. Our fathers were faithful men, but then we've apostatized. We've moved away from the land they've settled on. And we've exchanged our inheritance for a pot of stew. Well, that's what we are as Americans. We've leeched off the kingdom land. We've taken the wealth from the kingdom, the fruit of the land, and we've formed our own little kingdoms. The church in America is especially guilty of this. They love the fruits of the kingdom, but they hate the king. And so that's what we've done. We've set up our little Edoms. We've set up ourselves as little Leech kings. But the kingdom of Edom and her Leech kings never last. Edom always is destroyed. The only kingdom that endures is the kingdom of God. And if America has any hope, it's only in repenting of her move to Edom and moving back into the promised land.
Amen.
So this reminds us of our need to confess.